Hey folks, I am Kevin Iole at Yahoo Sports, and it is my great pleasure to bring back UFC Hall of Famer and actor, one of the greatest fighters who ever lived, and one of the best guys that I ever covered in a long career of writing about mixed martial arts. Of course, that has to be Georges St-Pierre. George, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic, and yourself?
I am awesome. It's fun to get a chance to talk to you now. Let's first start with the great honor that you had recently. You were inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame. Obviously, that was a no-brainer that at some point you were going to get in. But as you're standing on stage that night with all those legends, not only on stage but in the crowd, what was the emotion that was going through you, when you thought about that?
Man, it's the biggest honor an athlete can have when he retired, and it's the cherry on top. And my favorite part was actually the fact that I was able to see all these guys, Mark Coleman, Bas Rutten, Royce Gracie. They were all there hanging out backstage, and it was a lot of fun, to get them all together at once. I took some great pictures.
I was going to say, you're kind of a fanboy for Royce, right? I knew that because, even during your career, you made note. But yet, and these guys were fanboys of yours, so it was a little bit funny sometimes, huh?
Well, I'm a huge fan of all these guys. Bas Rutten, Mark Coleman, they all paved the way for us. And we learned from them. And performance in sport get better. It always improves with time, because we learn from our predecessors, and the fighter of today are better than the one of yesterday, I believe, and the one of tomorrow will be better than the one of today. That's how it goes. We can't measure it because it's not a sport that you can measure. You can measure, for example, the time of a 100-meter sprinter, how heavy someone lift the bar, but fighting, it's very, very subjective. So we always speculate who would have won between Mike Tyson and Muhammad Ali, or a guy like Tyson Fury. You know what I mean? But I'm under the impression that as time goes by, generally, fighters gets better.
I agree with that. And one of your peers that you fought in, I think what was the best-selling pay-per-view of your career was Nick Diaz. And it was kind of interesting. He came back. I mean, just amazing, George, when you think about it. 17 years after he first fought Robbie Lawler and 6 years after he last fought, he fought again. You were in the locker room before the fight. So I got two questions for you. Number one, what was your relationship with Nick like? And number two, how did you think he looked after such a long time away?
First, I don't have a relationship with Nick. He just happened to be in the same locker room, and when he came, I didn't know. You never know what to expect. So I look at him, and he came, and he put his head like this, and I said to myself, okay, now it's all good. So I wish him the best of luck, because he was fighting. It was a tough night for him because he came back after, I think it was 6 or 7 years. It was a long time. Nobody can come back as good as they were before after that much time, and I'm under the impression Nick left a lot of money on the table, unfortunately for him, because maybe his best years are behind him. Right. But he was rusty, and it's not to make any excuses, but maybe we haven't seen the best out of him yet. Maybe he's going to come back and get better, because after 7 years, I fought after more than 4 years. I can tell you, it's very hard. There's a lot of things that you cannot do in training. You cannot replicate in training that happens in a fight. And the only way to get it back is through the experience of real competition. And I think he can be better than he was. I think he can come back better if he want to. Of course, it's always about if we want to. There is a difference between fighters that goes there to collect a paycheck and right. Fighters that want to come back to become champion. I don't know what he wants. He need to figure it out for himself. But whatever he chooses to do, he need to stick to it and go all in. It's a game that you cannot go halfway. You have to go all in.
George, your promotion with him was one of the craziest promotions. And remember, Dana got mad at the one press conference. Nick didn't show up. And then the Wolf tickets thing at the press conference in Montreal. Was that a surreal experience going through that? And did you feel like that was just Nick being Nick, or do you think he was trying to get into your head to kind of affect your performance?
I don't know him personally enough to tell you that, but I believe that's his character, that's his persona, that's how he is. He's a very charismatic person, and he's not afraid to say whatever he thinks. He doesn't try to be politically correct. He just say it how it is, and that's why people love him. I think it was his real personality at the time that came up, and now we shook hand, everything is done. But I really enjoyed watching him fight, and whatever he chooses to do, if he chooses to come back, I will enjoy watching him fight again. I will turn on the channel for sure and be watching him for sure. It's always interesting to see what happened with the Diaz,
You were in the corner at UFC 266. You worked one of the corners early on the fight card. Does that, when you're in the corner, does that give you a little rush, and do you kind of get the memories, does it bring that competitive juice out of you? Not, of course, not the same as if you're actually fighting, but do you still have that, the angst and all the stuff that goes with fighting when you're working a corner?
No, I was in the corner and I thought of it. I was like, man, I really don't miss it. Not even a second, not even a little bit. I never really enjoyed fighting. I did this I used fighting as a benchmark to get me where I wanted to get to in life. I never enjoyed it, not even a second. I enjoy training. I love the freedom that comes with it. When you're good, you have a lot of freedom. I have no boss. I can get out of the radar for 6 months if I want. And we all have responsibilities, but I can do whatever I want. Of course, I made a lot of money. I like also the fact that it keeps you fit because you're into sport, So I like the training, the mentality of martial art, but the fight itself, I really don't miss it at all. I never enjoyed it. But it's not everybody that is like me. Like some people really do enjoy fighting, and we all do this for different reasons.
I was going to ask you, because you hear a lot of guys say, "Oh, I'm fighting. I love to fight. I do this because, not because of a paycheck and everything." And I always think, yeah, there's some crazy guy out there that actually likes it. But I think more often than not, there's more guys like you. Don't you suspect that there's more that have the feeling you have than have the other way, that, hey, I like to get hit. I just like to fight for fighting's sake?
Well, the best way I can describe it is that I have two personalities. I have the one that is talking to you right now. It's Georges St-Pierre. He's a nice guy. He tried to be a good role model. He doesn't like to fight. He loved the freedom, his lifestyle. I really enjoyed it. But there's another person that I can become sometimes during training when I hit the pads, because my body and my memory, I remember the mechanic of my movement. And when that happened and I start training, it turns on something into my brain that I become a different kind of person. And I made a joke to Dana that night, actually, during the Hall of Fame ceremony. I told Dana, I said, if you really want me to come back, just hide somewhere and wait that I'm in the middle of a training and come with a contract and offer me a fight. Because if you come before and after, for sure I will not accept it because I'm done.
That's funny. George, you're doing some acting now. Got a TV show, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I don't know what other plans you have in that realm, but is there any similarities in terms of preparing for a role on television or in the movies to fighting in terms of what you have to go through and the mental focus it takes?
Well, I think I was acting all my life because I never enjoyed fighting. It felt extremely uncomfortable and unbearable to me. However, I pretend in front of camera, in front of my opponent, I put on a poker face and I pretend that I loved it, that I was excited, like the sport psychologist used to say. But I wasn't at all. I didn't have any fun. And also sometimes when I was fighting, I was pretending that I want to box someone, then I was wrestling him. And I wanted something when I wanted to wrestle, pretend that I wanted to wrestle him, then I switch gear and I transform myself into a striker.
That's
so
what
it's a form of acting. It's a form of acting because it's an expression of yourself. That's why it comes the word mixed martial art. That's where the artistic word comes. The heart is to be able to deliver a beautiful technique. Not only winning is the number one priority, but we want to win with a beautiful display of technique. That's the ultimate goal. That's the artistic expression. But there's a lot of similarities in between acting and fighting. You can train and repeat different scenarios during your training in to get ready for a fight. And when you get into the fight, you realize very quick that your opponent is never as you thought he was. He's always different. The same thing in acting. I remember I rehearsed so many times certain scenes because I like to prepare myself very well. That's how I gain my confidence. And when I get on stage, on set, I mean, the background is different. The reaction of the actor could be different as well. So you need to be able to adapt. And Bruce Lee described it very well. He said, the best fighter, I believe, are like the best actor. You need to be like water, be ready to adapt to everything. And water can adapt to a form, to a cup, to everything that you're gonna put in it. And I think it's the same thing for the best actors and the best athletes. They're good to adapt.
Now, do you have any new projects, any movie projects in the fires that you're going to be working on?
Yeah, I do actually. And I've been working really hard on my game. Before I did some appearance but I was too busy competing in mixed martial art. But now it's been 4 years that I work on my game every week. I have camera classes, theater classes, all acting classes, English classes. So I think my game has improved a lot. But all these projects, a lot of them have been delayed by COVID, unfortunately. But in fall, I'm working on something. Unfortunately, I cannot discuss because it's always secret. But you guys gotta see me soon, and I have in the meantime a lot of audition to do. So it's fun. It's a new challenge for me, and I have to go back to white belt, so to speak, and work my way up again. And it's interesting. The problem with a lot of guys that retired is they have nothing to look for after they retired. That's why I believe a lot of them fall into depression, alcoholism, and they use drugs. I think when you are satisfied, it's finished. That's when you can be unhappy. I'm never satisfied. I always work towards a certain goal. Yeah, my life as a competitor in mixed martial art is over, but my life is not over. I always try to become that ideal Georges St-Pierre that I dreamed when I was young, that person that I wanted to become. And I'm not there yet. I try to now turn and to get myself into the acting world. And it's a hell of a challenge. It's very interesting, and the journey is very fun so far.
Well, you say, your MMA career is over, but you weren't so willing to say your boxing career was over because you tried like hell to get a fight with Oscar De La Hoya. What were you doing, George? What were you thinking wanting to fight a Hall of Fame boxer?
It was something different. It was done for a good cause, a charity. And Oscar De La Hoya is my second favorite boxer of all time behind Sugar Ray Leonard. And also, it was not like a regular boxing fight. It was done with bigger gloves, 14 ounce. It was 2-minute round, 8 round. So it was different. And the chance of getting hurt are minimized. I mean, you can still be hurt, if you're not prepared. You can be hurt. Don't get me wrong. But if I prepared myself very well, I'm very confident that I would have done well, because I think Oscar is older than me. I think he has more mileage than I do.
Oh yeah.
Of course, he's in his prime, he was a much better boxer and much more experienced than I am. But I think right now I could have prepared myself in a way that with all the world champion, it would have been a fun thing to do. The fight itself would have been very stressful, but the chance of getting hurt are much less than a real fight. So my days as a competitor, serious competitor, trying to prove that I'm the strongest man in the world are done. But I always leave the opportunity open to maybe a super fight grappling match, or a boxing fight with bigger gloves, something that the fan can enjoy and could be done for a good charity cause. I'm an entertainer, like professional athlete work in the entertainment business. We make our living because of the fan that are watching us. That's all entertainment. Singers, athletes, actors. So I'm an entertainment. So I work in the entertainment business, and I'm not done yet. Maybe the future will tell.
Coming to a big screen near you, Mr. Georges St-Pierre. George, I know you got to hop, so I'll let you roll. I appreciate you, brother. All the best to you. Best of luck in the acting career. And, who knows, maybe we'll see you in the ring with boxing gloves on.
Yeah, bigger boxing glove. We'll see.
Thanks, George.
Thank you.